This week we are going to be talking about the week of March 20th through the 26th, the Sun and New Moon in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, and Mars in Cancer. We are going to be digging into some more questions before we get into the week, and we are highlighting the Sun in Aries. The first two new moons, the first of two new moons in Aries in 2023, Pluto in Aquarius, and Mars in Cancer. There's going to be major shifts that are pushing you to define who you are, what you want, and where your values stem from. The purpose of this is so you will bring the brightest, most unique version of yourselves to the collective. By embracing your individuality, you offer the special part necessary in order to progress society into a future where we can all be more independent.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Who's on that shirt?
Woody Woodpecker, is that his name?
Oh yeah, Woody Woodpecker. Wow.
This shirt reminds me of my dad for some reason.
Yeah. Kind of looks like your dad.
Is this Horsepower? Mr. Horsepower?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Horsepower.
He's
yeah.
like smoking a cigar.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
I feel
Cool.
like I'm channeling a little bit of my inner white trash.
Awesome. Fantastic. Love it.
Okay, if anyone has tried it, I forget what it's called. I think it's called some sort of meditation chair or ADHD chair, or it's like a circle with like a little rounded back, and it kind of looks like an office chair, but it has all these different positions that you can move the arms and the seat to where you can like sit in all these different positions in your chair. And I'm super curious about it, and I kind of want to get one because I feel like I'm such a freak. Like if I wasn't sitting in front of the microphone, I'd be like sitting sideways in the chair, like with my legs somewhere else. It's just I'm always trying to readjust. So I feel like maybe if anyone has tried this chair, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to go over some questions today as well. But if you do have a question, if you go to Spotify, that is where we take our questions. There's like a little, I think it says poll or questions. You can write us there and we'll answer them on the podcast. Sometimes people write us on Instagram at The Weekly Transit or at Ingaroo, Ingaroo.
Or on the YouTube.
Which we're happy to answer them there. But if you do want it answered on the podcast, I would go through Spotify's app because then we will read the questions here. Or maybe, I was going to say you can say you want it on the podcast, but that just gets a little bit all over the place when we have questions coming from everywhere.
It's too confusing for me. If you put it on Spotify, then we're going to answer it on the podcast. And we've got quite a backlog, so we're doing our best to get through those. Well, I was just going to say, if you're putting a question, if you're asking me a question on Instagram, or Ingrid a question on Instagram, or either of us a question on YouTube, and Ingrid checked the YouTube comments because there was a question for you this last week, where we're going to answer it there. We're going to answer it where you asked us the question.
And then just before we get into our questions, a little bit about what we're doing on the podcast. It's basically kind of like a weather forecast, but for astrology. We go over each day of the week, what's happening in the planets and stars. Scott kind of guides us through. I share whatever's happening in my life to kind of relate it to an everyday experience of how to navigate life better with astrology kind of alongside you. And the best way to follow along with the podcast is to obviously listen wherever we are streaming, everywhere, but also to go to the website, theweeklytransit.com. There's a forecast tab for our blog. That's going to show the visuals and the journal prompts there if you want to actually start learning the language of astrology, as well as our book, The Basics of Astrology. It's in the show notes. It's $30 on Amazon. You get a paperback book, or it's $10 for an Amazon Kindle download. It's very much a glossary style book. It's super simple. It's very visual. It's straight to the point. There's no There's no fluff. So if you're trying to learn what we're talking about here, I highly recommend grabbing the book to follow along. And then if you're watching us on Spotify or YouTube, please subscribe. And those are where we're kind of previewing the visuals. We show a little bit of the book while we're going through it, and we show each of the alignments that we're also, here we go, a little preview. It's basically a glossary of all the terms and language that we use here on the podcast. So if you want to learn astrology, I highly recommend grabbing the book to follow along with the podcast and with the website where the forecast lives. Yeah, so if you want to support the podcast, you can purchase the book, and then also you can support the podcast by going to the show notes. There's a support link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10, and you can write us a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon for the book. You can share it. All the things are greatly appreciated.
Yes. And our sponsors that we want to thank are Kendra, Larry, Jasmine, Brenna, Barbara, Grace, Janelle, Vincent and Michelle, Clarissa, Nicole, Aline, Robin, Cassie, Merdinas, Brooke, Ricky, Amaranth, Libby, Annie, Amber, Stephanie, Deborah, Haley, Janine, Carrie, and Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for donating to the podcast. It allows us to spend more time doing what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you.
Yes. And we talked about it a bit last week, but want to give a shout out to Chelsea Mern, Expand with Chelsea. The podcast should be out. We'll put it in the show notes, but we had a wonderful interview with her. She is an amazing business coach and an incredible interviewer. She has a podcast and invited Ingrid and I to be on the podcast, and we both had an amazing time chatting with her.
It was really fun. I had listened to some of her episodes before we went on there, and her podcast is all about business, and I think it's like making six figures. Is that what it's called? Expanding with Chelsea, how to make six figures.
Expanding up. Yeah, leveling up.
But it was just really fun. We talked a lot about the North Node and our soul's purpose and aligning that with what we're going to be doing in business and what we're looking for in a business partner, mine and Scott's connection to each other and why we make great business partners, and just reflecting on who we hold close to us and why they impact what we're doing. So yeah, choosing wisely and just being more aware of yourself and how you can be successful in business. So we had a really great time on the podcast, and the link will be in the show notes.
And we'll put a link to her website to expandwithchelsea.com if you're interested in working with her in taking your business to the next level. She has like 3 different ways to work with her: Ignite, Scale, and Synergy. Check those out. See if they speak to you. Chelsea is incredibly bright and has amazing energy. And so it was a lot of fun for Ingrid and I to chat with her on her podcast. Thank you again, Chelsea, for having us as your guests.
Thank you. And another big takeaway was that what Chelsea does is personal coaching, and just thinking about you, Scott, and me wanting to learn astrology, and me like having all these books and not really being able to learn it until I had someone to hold my hand. Basically, we meet every week. I am able to learn in that way, to have somebody hold me accountable, and I feel like she kind of does a similar thing. I read part of her website, and it was saying how we all download these little workbooks and classes and all these type of things, but there's no personal like hand-holding happening or mentorship to really learn. And I think that the reason I've even learned astrology, or I know the reason I've learned astrology, is by meeting with you every week. So if you want to learn more about astrology or get a reading or have some hand-holding in pushing you forward, contact Scott for a reading. Or if you're looking to do more business-oriented stuff, Chelsea, you can buy these services, or both of us have an amazing podcast where you can follow along for free if you just want to, start taking those baby steps.
Totally. You were saying last week, like, you and Chelsea must have some things in common. We're both 7th house sons.
Oh,
so
really?
That's why, 7th house is the house of marriage. So that's why, working with other people is what makes us feel whole. So, Chelsea is a North Node in Capricorn, which is about goal setting, achievement, accomplishments, and it's in the third house, her North Node. So, asking questions, gathering information. I imagine that her as a coach, she's going to learn a lot about you. And through learning about you, she's going to help you discern what goals are going to be best for you and the work that is required to achieve those goals. What I do is a little different because it's not business oriented. It's just more overall life work. And I work with people that are astrologers that are wanting to learn astrology, but also people that just want guidance in helping to understand the energies that are coming around the corner or the energies of the past and to make sense of the past and how the planets and stars were affecting them in the past, in the present, in the future. That's what the cosmic pathway is all about. So, yes, it's a lot of fun. I love working one-on-one with people.
And then the episode that we recorded with Chelsea is all about how you can use astrology while working on your business, your soul's purpose, in kind of figuring that out, and then also who to partner with and what to look for in their astrological code to find someone who's a good fit for you, what questions you should be asking them and seeing where they're at.
Totally awesome. So much fun.
Do you want to bring in some questions?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the questions. Okay, so first question here. This is from Ciara Cho. Hey, I'm wondering about a specific placement in my natal chart. I have both Saturn and Jupiter in my 7th house, both in Taurus. I believe they are conjunct. Would love some more insight / elaboration. Well, Saturn is the planet of restriction. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Together in the same sign, in the same house, means that they're bringing that luck and work. Jupiter's luck, Saturn's work. So you have a lot of luck. The 7th house we just mentioned is the house of marriage. So you have a lot of luck when it comes to close personal relationships, lovers, friends, business partners. Taurus is the sign of self-worth and all matters of the material, art, culture, food, finance. You have luck in that area as well. But Saturn in the same place means that you have a lot of work to do in order to bring that luck to fruition. So if you are doing the work on your close personal relationships and your relationship to the material, then you will receive much abundance and luck in these areas.
I absolutely love that because I was just listening to something about success and it's like it's opportunity, but it's also needs to meet a little bit of luck for something to actually happen. But it's also, if you're not doing the work, you're not going to have those lucky opportunities, or if you do have them, they're not going to be fruitful. Nothing's going to happen if you don't have both. So doing the work and keeping in mind that there will be a lucky moment where all your work will come in handy, where it's able to like cross over and something big will happen
and come into reality. It's about bringing that luck into reality. There's the idea, but it's like, how do I bring that idea into reality where I can actually touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, feel it?
And I was just thinking about like social media, how everything is very glorified, where it's just like, oh, there's this magic, this person made it and that person made it, and it was just like all luck. There's this one graphic designer, I think his name is like Chris Frendo. And but he's wildly successful, and he just posted a graphic that was like, everyone just sees this 1 year, like basically I'm an overnight success, but I've been working at this for 10 years and it wasn't overnight. It was all my hard work and this one stroke of luck that finally paid off. And if I wouldn't have done those 10 years of hard work, this overnight success that you see would never have happened. And it's not about the overnight. It's about taking responsibility, putting in the work. So when you have that magic moment where you're able to bring things into reality, you're ready for it.
Absolutely. Yes. So the second question is from Cassidy. Cassidy asks, is it common to have 2 of the same signs in the primal triad? My husband, 2 kids, and myself all have duplicates. I would say, okay, so there's 728 different combinations of the primal triad. So I don't know how common it is for there to be two in the same primal triad, because I would have to go through and look at all 1728 and figure out how many have two, but there's 1728 different combinations of the primal triad. I don't know how many off the top of my head have two, but it's not common. It's more common, I would imagine, to have three different signs. But what makes it even more interesting is that you, your husband, and your two kids all have duplicates. And that's one of those interesting things that it seems very unique, but I feel like it's more common than not to see like these commonalities within families, where it is really cool and interesting to see that all four of you have two duplicates. And I think that is really rare. But I often see families where they are sharing signs in the primal triad. Like, I'm a Scorpio sun, my mom's a Scorpio moon, my sister's a Scorpio rising. I'm a Taurus rising, my dad's a Taurus sun, a Taurus moon. My mom's an Aquarius sun, my sister's an Aquarius moon. So, it's like I see that so often in families. So it is really interesting. It's very cool. It is very unique, but it's very special. But at the same time, I see that more often than not, where families are reflecting their primal triads.
I mean, even in like terms of like partnerships, I feel like you told me like I think my ex and even my current partner and one of my friends, they all have like Aries.
Aries
Uh,
moons.
yeah, or no,
Aries
this
moon.
one's different. But like, and then my dad, that's what it was. My dad
Your
and my ex.
dad. Your dad, your ex, and your current partner all are Aries moons.
So I'm
Right?
like,
Yeah.
well, wait, isn't his?
No.
No, you're right. Yeah. So
Let
it's
me
like
look.
how like we.
Where's Walter Iverson? No, your dad is a Sagittarius rising. Your ex is a Sagittarius rising, but your ex is an Aries moon, and your current partner is an Aries moon.
So I don't
So
know. I just thought like I think there's a lot of these patterns, even in some other friendships. You're like, oh, this person and this person and this person all have this quality. That's probably why you're attracted to them. So
exactly,
I can imagine in family dynamics, it's like we're meant to learn certain lessons. So it's kind of like we get stuck together for a
totally,
reason.
totally. I was just looking at some charts for a client and noticed that her assistant and one of her best friends have the same rising sign, the same moon in the same house in the same sign, and Venus in the same sign in the same house at the exact same degree.
That's
And
crazy.
I'm like, look at your assistant, look at your friend. There's some sort of commonality here that they're
Hmm.
sharing with each other. And yeah. So this is a fun thing about astrology, to see like, okay, how are we
All
reflecting
the
each other?
patterns. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. This is from Delta Down 6/8, Delta Down 8888888. Is there anything that I should watch for with my first five houses in Cancer, Leo, Cancer, Leo, Cancer, and Ascendant in Leo too? Lots of sun/moon energy that I feel is astrological bipolar. This makes no sense to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh
Delta
no.
Down 6/8. Please rephrase or reach out to me for a reading, because I'm thoroughly confused. I don't know how your first five houses can be in Cancer, Leo, Cancer, Leo, Cancer, because Leo
They're
is after Cancer. So your first house could be in Cancer, but then your second house would be in Leo, but your third house is not going to be in Cancer because your first house is in Cancer.
Yeah, it can only go
It-
one place.
exactly. So,
It's a planet, so it can only go in one spot, and that's it.
yeah, I don't know. I'm astrologically bipolar from this question because like ascendant in Leo, okay,
Okay.
then that means that Cancer cannot be in the next house. It's got to be in the previous house. It's got to be in the 12th house. That's where Cancer has to be.
Well, they probably
If
just don't know how to read their chart. So yeah, reach
yeah,
out,
reach out to
clarify,
me for a
or
reading.
yeah. I'm curious.
And
I want to know what's happening.
of
I
course,
mean,
if you're
reading your own chart is literally fucking impossible. Only until recently can I even see the visual. Scott kept pointing and drawing always, and I'm just like, I literally don't know what the fuck you're doing, bro. Like until we wrote the book together, I was like, stop with these squiggles. I'm never gonna get it. So I'm sure just a little bit of confusion in reading it, which is totally understandable. So yeah, write us or get a reading. I want to know what's happening with your Leo
and if
Cancer,
you
Leo
want a
Cancer.
reading, it's at theweeklytransit.com. I will never send you a message on Instagram telling you that you need a reading with me. Never, ever, 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 ever. The only way to schedule a reading with me is via theweeklytransit.com. The schedule is there.
And Scott's only mentioning that because recently there's been a lot of what do you impersonators.
Imposters. Yeah,
Yeah, so just
impersonators.
watch out for
Yeah.
those. Even if it's not Scott, anyone who's reaching out to you for any magical reading moment. Hey, darling, sweetheart, I feel called to you. No, they fucking don't. It's a scam, so report them.
Yeah. Total scam. Do we have time for one more question?
Sure,
Or
one
should
more.
we
Is
move
it a
into the
short?
week?
Is it a short question?
Let's see. This is from Jessica Haskell. What is the significance of ruling planets? In my case, I'm a Cancer rising, and with Cancer being ruled by the moon, is my moon in Gemini placement consequently more loud or prominent in my chart?
Hmm.
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I mean, I have to look at the chart to know what else is going on there. It's a lot more complex than just your ascendant is in Cancer, so now your moon is more powerful. It could make the moon more powerful. I'm curious to know if there's other planets aligned with the moon, what planets are aligned with the moon, what other planets are aligned with the ascendant. But when you're a Cancer rising, you're somebody who your emotions are right on your face. They're on the front page. You wear your emotions on your sleeve when you're around people you don't know, in situations where you're uncomfortable, places where you're unfamiliar. If you ever feel threatened, you are showing emotion, but that doesn't mean that people are seeing the true nature of your emotions, which is Gemini. That is only the people that you are emotional with, that you feel comfortable in truly showing who you are. Like, just because you're crying doesn't mean that you're really showing your emotions.
So I have a Cancer moon, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. I feel like I'm very good at putting on a face for people that I don't give a fuck about. Like that's very easy for me to do at work and put on a persona wherever I am and fit in. But like I think I mentioned last week, whatever thing that was happening that I ended up crying about, like my partner knows immediately. I'm just like, it's fine. Like it's fine. We don't really need to talk about it right now. We're out. And he's like, you're not fine. We should go. Like, let's just go. We'll talk about it. Like I know when
Mm-hmm.
you're not fine. So like, and he always knows that even if I try to cover it up, he's like, just tell me what's happening. You can't, it's on your face. I know you and I know what's happening. So, like, I think in my my closer relationships, it's just written. There's no way for me to hide that. So I'm just curious, is that part of my Cancer moon? Now I forgot what their chart
Yeah,
was.
well, so you're the opposite of her. She's a Cancer rising and a
Okay.
Gemini moon. You're a Gemini rising and a Cancer moon. So you're only going to show those tears to people that you feel comfortable around to really let it down. But like when I think of like my lady who's a Cancer rising and her moon is in Virgo, like that Cancer rising, the tears can come out, but like her moon is a different animal. It's a
Mm.
totally different
You're
animal. As
not
a
actually
Virgo moon,
feeling.
she I don't even want to get into that on the podcast, but No, but she's, like she shows me a side to herself emotionally that she hasn't showed to anyone else.
Yeah.
Even though other people might see emotion in her
Mhm.
because of her Cancer rising, it's not the true depth of her emotions. So, yeah, it's complex.
That was a great question. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I think that
Thanks,
you said
Jessica.
involves an actual reading to see what is the most prominent, because you have to compare it to everything else in the chart as well to see.
Exactly.
I mean, even like when we cover each day of the week, there are so many alignments happening all the time, and Scott is picking the most prominent alignment of that day, whatever the most energy we're going to be feeling and dealing with is. So it is kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you need to know more about what's happening to pick what's the most important or the most impactful, I guess.
Yes. Awesome. All
Should
right.
we get into the week?
Let's do it. So, this is the week of March 20th through the 26th. We're looking at Monday, March 20th, where we have the sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, transiting into the sign that it is exalted in. The cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries. The sun is here in Aries every year from around March 20th to April 19th, 20th. This year it's there until April 20th. But this is really invigorating your sense of authenticity, courage, stepping forward, facing the conflict, leading, being direct. That's what this is about, charging ahead. Then there is Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, in the sign that it rules, the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull, Taurus, conjunct at the exact same degree in the same sign as the North Node, the karmic pathway of the soul or soul's purpose. So this is a day, this is beginning the week of like, who am I? What do I want? Who am I? What do I want? If you can't answer those questions, now is the time to answer those questions. Who am I and what do I want?
Well, last week I think we kind of set the stage for this of kind of
Totally.
confronting being more direct, tapping into our authenticity, communicating
Mm-hmm.
that to the people we're in relationships and our soul's purpose. Like, and I think it's actually culminating more this week on this day of really asking that question of ourselves. And maybe last
Mm-hmm.
week was kind of giving us these little hints as to what the answer to that question is. Reflecting
Mm-hmm.
on what was happening that last week would give you the answer to this on this day.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's it. Because last week we were talking all about so much of the Pisces energy of the unconscious and clearing out that psychological baggage so that when the planets move into Aries, you can truly be who you are. You're not hiding from yourself anymore, and you're not beating yourself up internally. You've forgiven yourself. You understand that life is a practice, and that sometimes in practice I trip, I fall, I knock my head. Aries rules the head, so be mindful of your head during this period.
Or being maybe a
But
hothead.
a hothead, well, that's what happens. Like when you haven't done the work of your unconscious, and then the planets roll into Aries, it's bringing that dumpster into the street and lighting it on fire. That's
Mm-hmm.
where people become aggressive and cocky and arrogant because they're filled with fear. If you
Or
have integrated
insecurities.
your psychological baggage with love and forgiveness, then you will be acting with love. And at the root of love, the root of courage is love. So Aries is about courage, but at the root of that courage is love.
Oh, the aggression side of Aries is like the shadow side of it, where if you haven't done the work and you're not being compassionate and you're not really tapping into the love part of it, then it can come across as aggressive and like
Yes, that's right.
egocentric. And
That's right. Yes.
I mean, it's so important to be direct, but like when you channel the real Aries energy, it is more about authenticity. It's not about beating someone else down or being better than them or anything like that. So when we
Exactly.
say like being direct and like it is like a healthy amount of aggression. And that's important.
Yes. Yes.
Sticking up for what you believe in.
That's right. That is right. Standing up for yourself.
It looks like Tuesday's kind of more integrated form of this energy too.
That's right. So Tuesday, March 21st, we're looking at the new moon in Aries. And one point to make about the sun in Aries is when the sun is transiting through Aries, this is a challenging time for Cancer and Capricorn placement. So if you have key astrological points or planets in Cancer or Capricorn, take it easy on yourself between now and April 20th, because there could be some challenges. So the new moon in Aries, this is the first of 2 new moons in Aries. This is the new moon in Aries at 0 degrees. In 30 days, 28 days, there will be the second new moon in Aries, which is at 29 degrees in Aries. So 2 new moons in Aries this year. This is the first time. Yes, it is. This is the first time since in the last 19 years ago. So think back. Where were you 19 years ago? Because 19 years ago was the last time there were 2 new moons in Aries. So it is a gift because it's an opportunity for you to set the table twice in terms of your self-confidence, your authenticity, your self-love, courage. These are the themes of Aries. It's about self-love, courage, authenticity, and directness, self-confidence, courage, authenticity, and directness. So setting your intentions to love yourself, setting your intentions to be courageous, setting your intentions to be authentic, and setting your intentions to be direct. That is what the new moon in Aries is about. If you are curious to understand how this new moon and the coming full moon, the full moon in Libra, will be affecting you directly, enroll in my moon cycle classes at theweeklytransit.com.
And the moon classes are smaller classes, so you get a lot of one-on-one time with Scott, and he is customizing it to each person. It's not just a general class for the new moon where you gather for the new moon. You all set your intentions by yourself. You get to see a little bit of everyone's chart. You get to learn more about astrology, and you get to set intentions together with like even more intention based on your specific astrological code. Not everyone's setting the same exact type of intentions.
Exactly. Where is it landing? What house is it in? What planets in your astrological code are connecting to the new moon? What does that mean? That's what we're getting into. The classes are small, they're intimate. Everybody has one-on-one time to reflect with me.
And also, if you're thinking about getting a reading, the readings are a little bit more of an investment. But if you want to just get a little peek into what a more personal astrology reading is, I think the new moon is a great baby step into just like touching your toes in, to just seeing a little bit more about your code.
Absolutely. Yes. So it's, this is an exciting time. This is a time to really kick off. What do you want? Who do you want to be charging ahead? What are you charging towards? That's what this energy is about. We're getting 2 boosts this year. The first one with this new moon, the second one with the second new moon in Aries. Very exciting, but also very terrifying too, because maybe people are going to be more aggressive than normal.
Practicing, putting on their true face. And sometimes, especially when we're uncertain or we have fear instead of love, or it's like we're trying to practice it, it might not come across as gentle as we would like. So this gift and being able to set our intentions twice, it's like maybe the first time we said it, maybe we came off too crass or too aggressive because we were scared and we didn't know how to show up exactly authentically, but we got to practice it, check in on the full moon, set intentions again for how you want to do it in a maybe more graceful, more effective, more collected way. Like when we are direct and we are like actually honed in, it's not going to be coming off as aggressive or scary or burning bridges. It's going to be empowering for us and the people around us. It's inspiring to see people tap into that energy.
Yes, exactly.
The
That's it.
opposite of scary.
Yes.
When I see
Yes.
people do it, I like look up to them. I'm like, oh my God, I want to be more like that. I want to be able to say what's on my mind in a way that people can absorb and look up to, where they're expressing themselves authentically. It has nothing to do with putting someone else down or being rude or whatever. It's just about being yourself.
That's it. That's it. And when you're not being yourself and then you feel compromised, that is when people lash out in a scary sort of way.
Yeah, you can't hide from it. It's still going to come out some way or another.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to Wednesday, March 22nd. Now
More
we've
Aries.
got, more Aries. Now the moon is conjunct with Chiron. So bringing that emotional sensitivity to the wound to our self-confidence. So you've set your intentions on March 21st and you're saying, I'm going to be more direct and authentic and courageous and love myself. And then on Wednesday, those fears come up
They
where
always
it's
do.
like, okay, well, if you want to be those things, then you got to face your fears.
You got to put yourself out there, and that's uncomfortable. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I think the power in astrology is using it as a weather forecast. We can't prevent the rain from happening, but we can be prepared by wearing a jacket and putting our, like, tying our hair up and not planning a picnic, so we can be like, oh, I've adjusted to what's about to happen, and it doesn't feel so harsh or alarming because we have set the stage.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So
That's
knowing
right.
it might be a little uncomfortable, but not going in without being prepared.
Exactly. You're ready for it. And you called for it. You asked for it. That's it. And then on March 23rd, Thursday, this is the big shock wave that we're going to be feeling with Pluto, the god of death, lord of the
boy.
underworld, the
Oh,
planet of
no.
transformation, moving into Aquarius, the fixed air sign symbolized by the water bearer. This is incredibly significant because this is the first time that Pluto has been in Aquarius since the day after Christmas, 1798.
So just a few years ago.
Just a couple years ago. Yeah. So Pluto, the god of death, the planet of transformation, in the sign that represents the group, the club, the organization, the social network or cause, the community, your inventive mind. It's just dipping its toe into Aquarius. I mean, it's only going to be in Aquarius until June 11th, and then it moves back into Capricorn. Then it moves back into Aquarius January 20th and is there until September 1st of 2024. So we get like a longer taste of that next year. Then it goes back into Capricorn again and moves into Aquarius for the long haul on November 19th, 2024, and is there until March 8th of 2043.
So do you think this Aries energy we've been working with showing up authentically, is now Pluto, the god of death, in the community, creating this change? Like, now things are going to shift for us in our community because we're showing up in a way that's actually authentic to ourselves.
Exactly. That's what's happening. People are going to be showing up more authentically, more courageously. There's been a lot of hiding or wanting to just be like, well, I got to just fit in. I don't want to rock the boat or anything. People are going to be rocking the boat now, because people are going to be, whether they're aware of it or not, they're going to be much more aggressive about who they are and solidifying their identity, their personality, exerting their personality, and that's what the community needs, because the shadow side of Aquarius is everybody. It's Stepford Wives. Everybody looks the same, talks the same, walks the same, thinks the same. That's the shadow side of Aquarius. The light side of Aquarius is the diversity. The strength of any community is in its diversity. I mean, I think of like sports. A football team is not going to win with 11 quarterbacks on the field.
Yeah.
I don't care if all 11 are Tom Brady, they're not going to win because you need other players that fit other roles. It's about each individual showing up uniquely, showing up exactly as they are, and understanding that what I have to offer is different than what anyone else has to offer. And it's not about me being like someone else, it's about me being myself.
I mean, and that's tapping into that Aries energy of being authentic. If we all
Mm-hmm.
want to be the same thing, it's not useful. On a team, you need
Yes.
a team of different people. So, also just really recognizing I think sometimes it's hard to actually feel like we trust our authenticity where we're not like a lot of us just model things. We go to school, we pick something our parents like or our friends like, or we see a rock star or somebody that inspires us, and we try to be just like them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like once you get over the initial inspiration of something, like being able to come into your own is so powerful, and we don't need to be like somebody else. Like we can like idolize someone for what they're good at, but if that's not what we're good at, that doesn't make a difference. When we're aspiring to be something we're not, we're never going to be successful at it.
Exactly.
So, really learning more about yourself and who you are and what is authentic for you. Because if I try my whole life to be something that I'm not, it's going to be an uphill battle that I'm going to lose and I'm not going to feel good.
100%.
And I think a lot of people do that. And you recognize maybe in your 30s or 40s, people are having these midlife crises and they're like, oh, fuck, I was just trying to do what everyone told me I should do and not what I actually wanted to do for myself. There's a lot of like divorces and all that kind of stuff happens when you're like, oh, wait, I, I actually wasn't showing up in an authentic way.
That was like me wanting to be an actor or a writer, all these different things, and I was very frustrated for so many years. And then astrology came along, and it was like, it just clicked, and I was like, oh my god, this is the thing. And all these people that I was friends with, family, they're like, what's wrong with Scott? He's crazy,
He's
like
not
he's
doing what
lost
we
his
thought he should
mind.
do.
Like what is he doing? Does he need professional help? And it's like, well, I'm already seeing a therapist once a week, thank you very much. So but it's I did not care that they thought I was weird or that there was something wrong with me. I did not care because I knew what I was experiencing inside of myself was it was the most clear thing I'd ever experienced, where it made sense. And that is where we want to be with this Aquarius energy, is that even when all the villagers are laughing at the water bearer for thinking that they can figure out how to bring water from the stream to the village, that person is crazy. The water bearer is like, okay, they don't see my vision, and that's fine. They don't have to see my vision. I see my vision. And the water bear created the jug, and lo and behold, they showed up in the village with a jug full of water, and all those people in the village that said the water bear was crazy were now saying she's a genius. And so that's, I heard Jeff Bezos say before something like, it doesn't matter if people don't understand your vision. Like selling books online, people didn't understand what Amazon was. I actually heard a guy I went to college with who works at a bank who turned down uh, he was he was approached by YouTube for their bank to be one of the initial investors of YouTube, and he's like, we already have TV, like why would
We don't get it. We don't get it.
exactly.
This
And
is
so
stupid.
yeah, he's like, of course that was a bad choice by me and my bank. But they didn't have to understand. Uh, Not everyone's going to understand your vision. Not everyone's going to understand your uniqueness, the way that you see the world. And that's a good thing. That means you're on the right track. Because if
I'm
you want to
think
progress society, you have to think differently.
I'm I peeked ahead at Friday.
Oh, Friday. Let's go.
And
Let's move on to Friday.
I'll let you do the alignment first, but I
Yeah.
feel like it's maybe a bit about value, appreciating
Exactly.
emotionally and valuing ourselves coming into ourselves.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
It totally does. The moon, the emotions, and Venus, the senses, the planetary ruler of Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus. So both of these are in positions of power. So as we're working with this self energy of the sun in Aries, where it's exalted, and then Pluto in Aquarius, which is about being your unique individual self, we've got the moon and Venus in Taurus, which is saying, what do you value? What on an emotional level makes you feel satisfied, makes you feel good? What is that? And how is that reflected in your close personal relationships? Are the people that you're in relationship with, are they supportive of you? Or are they the ones who are tearing down your crazy ideas? No.
So, is this maybe taking stock of who in our life values us?
Perhaps. I think that's part of it. I think it's really honing in on what you value on an emotional level and the individuals in your life that honor, reflect, or respect your values.
And maybe also like the reflection of that, appreciating the people in your life, like maybe um taking a moment to appreciate the people in your life that you value and that you respect.
I love that. Absolutely. Yes. That is great. Yes, respecting other people's values, appreciating other people's values. That's what Aquarius is all about. It's like you have your values, I have my values. I don't agree with your values. I don't even like your values. But you know what? I respect them because they're yours. They're not mine. They're yours.
Yeah, I don't have to change my values to meet yours.
Exactly. You have a different perspective of life on Earth. I haven't walked in your shoes. I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't understand your life. I don't really understand your values, but because I don't understand them, I'm not going to shit all over them, and
Love
say that
that.
your values are terrible. You're an idiot. No, that's not how we operate here.
I feel like that's the current political social climate, is to just shit on anybody that doesn't agree with you.
Totally.
And it's just like, what the fuck is that? You're supposed to be like, oh, we're so inclusive and we want everyone to feel cared about. But really, they want everyone to care about them and their little bubble. But if you don't agree with them, then fuck you.
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
well, that's the way to be inclusive, is by saying fuck you to everyone that doesn't agree with you. That's fucking asinine.
Exactly. It's not inclusive. It's chaos. It's divide and conquer. It's about, dominating others. That is the shadow side of Aquarius. Aquarius is inclusive. Aquarius is detached. We're not going to get involved in the emotions of it, because if I do, then I'm going to be upset about your views. But if I can just logically understand that you come from a different place than me, a different background, a different upbringing, a different family life, a different ethnicity, a different town, a different city, a different state, different country, whatever it may be, you have a different experience in life.
Yeah. What's important to me doesn't have to be important to you.
Right. Right. And as long as we can respect our differences, then there are none of these silly conflicts where it's like, you believe differently than me, so I have to kill you. What? No.
You're gonna need to calm down.
Yeah, exactly. Killing somebody over a different belief, that's insanity.
I want you to, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Saturday. I feel this week just feels very flow. Even last week, everything feels like it's just flowing right along.
Well, there's Mars. So I forgot to mention last week on one of the days, it was Wednesday, March 15th, that Mars moved out of its retrograde shadow. And here it is. Finally. Oh, my God. Finally in Cancer. I mean, Mars was in Gemini. When did it move into Gemini? That was in, I want to get the date up here just so I can see. Mars moved into Gemini, was back on, Jesus, it's been such a long time. August 20th.
Oh
August
yeah.
20th, 2022 until now, March 25th, Mars was in Gemini. Mars typically spends about 6 weeks in a sign. It spent 6 months in
Okay.
Gemini. And
So
now
this is a
here it
big
is.
shift.
It's huge. It's the cardinal Mars in the cardinal water sign, symbolized by the crab, Cancer. This is bringing that aggression to those emotions, to the home life, to your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors. There may be conflicts in these areas over the coming weeks. Mars is going to be in Cancer until May 20th. And so between March 25th and May 20th, there could be conflicts at home, conflicts with family. These are stirring up your roots, your past, your upbringing, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, so that you can, really get to the bottom of who you are, where you come from. Why do you have the beliefs, the values, the feelings that you have?
I mean,
That's what this Mars in Cancer is about.
I feel like I always peek ahead because it always ties together. So it's like yesterday we were.
Well, before we move ahead,
No, no,
I
no.
just,
I'm talking about yesterday
oh,
first.
yesterday. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wait. So yesterday we were learning more about like our values and
Mm-hmm.
in our relationships and appreciating other people. But then when we come to Saturday, it's like, okay, well maybe we have to like take some action in these relationships, like our close family relationships. Maybe our values don't align yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we are appreciating things, but we're also noticing things that don't align as well. And so maybe
Exactly.
today we're kind of dealing with that where we noticed those things yesterday and now they're coming out today.
They're stirring up, they're creating conflict,
Yeah.
and you're needing to face it,
Hmm.
needing to face the conflict within the home, within your family life, and reflect upon your past, your roots, your upbringing, your ancestors. That's going to give you some clarity as to who you are based on where you come from. What are your values based on your past? Are these my values, or are these my parents' values that come from my
Yes.
grandparents, from my ancestors? Do I really value the same things? Maybe I do on some things, but other things, maybe I don't. So clearing that out. But this period from March 25th to May 20th, for those born with key astrological points or planets in Aries or Libra, this could be a challenging time because the god of war is squaring those points in your chart. So pay attention to the tension, face the conflict in order to move through the energy that is stuck. Now, the last time that Mars transited through Cancer was April 23rd to June 11th, 2021. And the time before that was May 15th to July 1st, 2019. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around. And then moving forward to Sunday, March 26th, we've got the moon, the planet of emotions, now in the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini, forming that positive sextile with Chiron in Aries. So this is giving you the opportunity to ask questions, gather information, learn a little bit about a lot in order to really discern the nature of the wound to your self-confidence, or anyone else from your past, their wounds to self-confidence. How have their wounds maybe influenced your wound? What can we learn during this period?
Well, when I see Gemini, I always think of being curious and asking questions. And
Yes.
maybe that's more internal, or I mean, I guess it could be external, asking ourselves what where these wounds came from to our self-confidence, and maybe being curious about the people in our life. If you see you, whatever you're seeing like manifest, asking them where, what had hurt them in the past that's making them respond in this way. That
Mm-hmm.
curiosity, I think it's a sextile, so it is a gift. It's like when we get the answers to these questions, it soothes things over.
Soothes and smooths. Yeah.
Like I was saying, that girl Crystal, like it reminded me of a past past relationship with her where she's just impatient and agitated all the time, so I wouldn't want to bring things up. And then that leads to me in my current relationship being like, oh, like I shouldn't say something because it's just going to start a fight. And it's like, that person's like, what are you talking about? I don't get mad at you. I just told you I would take you home to get ready if you wanted to. So like, we're not recognizing that, and that just the awareness of sharing it with you, I'm like, oh yeah, that is from my past. And that's why I had that moment. And I feel like just the awareness and answering the question of where it might have come from does so much. And maybe it's not just healed overnight. Maybe it happens again and again in smaller and smaller ways, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that little insight that I had, and to like let that go little by little until it's not there anymore.
That's it. And
staying curious.
Yes, staying curious. Where does this come from? Why do I feel insecure about this? Why? And getting to the bottom of it. Getting that answer. Getting that clarity. And through that clarity, claiming your self-confidence so you can move forward, charge ahead. It's go time. That's what this is about right now. Yeah, it's go time right now. So exciting week ahead, intense week ahead. But man, things are moving. Things are moving. Lots of shifting here right now.
Thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone listening. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube or Spotify, go buy the book, The Basics of Astrology. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Donate to support the podcast. It's all in the show notes. Write us a review. Share it with your friends. We love and appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll see you next week, Scott.
See you next week, Ingrid.
Thank you for listening to The Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.